Morning, everyone. My name is Alan, and today we're going to be doing an interesting episode of the Micro Minute. Haven't released one of these in a long time, but I feel that there's some things that need to be said and to kind of get things underway. So, what I've seen recently in the game is a new type of player has surfaced, and these types of players are starting to ruin the game. Now, what do I mean by types of players? Well, in politics and war, there have always been five major types of players. Uh, the first one is the newbies. Those are the people that see politics and war in an ad or somebody promotes it. They join the game, they play for anywhere between a day and 2 weeks, and then they usually quit from there. They're also known as the day players. Those people are the ones where you see have 7 farms in each city. They have wind power, and they just don't really know what they're doing. And unfortunately, most of the people look at that and they shit on them instead of trying to take them into their alliance and say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. Here's how a streamlined city build works, and you should go from there. I would say about 75% of the newbies that join, they're pretty much done after a week. There are some that do decide that they want to keep going. And realistically, anything that you do in politics and war past like the month point, you're pretty much playing the game for good. Now, there are the newbies and the day players that only play for 2 or 3 days. They go inactive for 2 weeks. They come back and they're like, oh shit, I remember I have a nation, and they do stuff for 2 or 3 days. Um, that's, you know, whatever. And alliances look at that and say, yeah, we don't want that kind of inactivity. The second type of players is the raiders. And God bless Arg, Hand of Fate, just anyone that says, you know what, I do not care about the political spheres. I do not care about what globals are going on at the current time. We're just going to go out and we're going to go whack somebody. The Raiders stand the highest chance of existing throughout the entire game. And the reason for that being is they are not, in my opinion, they are not playing the game to build cities um, and to actually do something for progression. They're doing it for statistics. I know a lot of people don't look at the leaderboards and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm number 98th or whatever it is now." I think Alex increased it to like 100 or some shit. But those that actually do raid and put up huge amount of stats, those are the people that play the longest. I remember when I was raiding, um, when I was still in Black Skies, there was a huge amount of fun in becoming the number one all-time wars one. I think I capped at like 1100 wars won before I finally had to delete my nation. But looking at it now, there's like 10, 11 people that have over 1,000 wars won. And shout out to Corleonesi for struggling and fighting with me to try and keep the spot. Um, the third type of players are the role players, the RPers. They're they're an interesting group of people in that you have good RP, you have bad RP, then you have nano RP. The good RP is done just by doing the player bulletins and stuff. Everyone's happy, and it's just like upvoting on your Twitter feed. That's okay. And sometimes I can get enjoyment out of reading those. Then you have the bad role players. These are the guys that are sitting in micros or nanos, and they basically put out RP posts as shit posts against another player. Once again, sometimes still very interesting to read. However, it doesn't add anything to the game. And there are some posts that I look at, and it's just like, yeah, this whole bulletin thing was a wasted idea. You could have done something a lot more interesting with it. So, for example, you could have made a post that when you embargoed somebody or when you denounced their nation, if the RPers actually wanted it, you could have a bulletin posted with that. So the reason for the embargo, instead of being like 10 characters or whatever it is, could be a link to the nation bulletin. They'd look at that and be like, "Oh, this guy is embargoing me because of ABCD actions." The nano RPers are scum of the earth. I would I would feel like the game would be better off if Alex just went in, looked at all the nano RPers and said, "All right, get the fuck out," and just removed them from the game. The reason for that being is the nano RPers use bulletins not to be like, haha, XYZ Nation is a piece of shit. They use bulletins, and you can actually see some of them because the moderation team doesn't do jack shit in this game. Um, they basically take information and say, like, oh, this person on Discord is an asshole. And because they're an asshole, here are the things that you should do. Fuck this person, go kill them, they should die, all of that shit. And it's like, you know, to play politics and war, you have to be 13. And you look at some of those nation bulletins and you're like, yeah, there's no fucking way this kid is 13 years old. They're like 7. If they're not 7, they're severely handicapped. And if they're not 7 or severely handicapped, yeah, then that's I don't know. I don't know, dementia? Not dementia. That's not the word I'm thinking of. I don't know. There's you can't no 13-year-old, all right, is going to be using poopy head anymore. No 13-year-old is going to be using he is a meanie or a butt, you know. Use proper English, call him a cunt. If it makes you feel better. But no, just get rid of all those nations. They are a waste of space, and some of them are taking up legitimate good nation names. The fourth type of player are the pixel huggers. I don't need to go into them. You know who you are. You know what alliance they're in. And all I'm saying is fucking raid them. The raiders, group number 2, needs to go teach group number 4 that it's a game. All right. The pixel huggers don't want to have stats against them. They don't want to build up stats. The only thing that they see is progression. And this is a game called Politics and War. The and war part is 50% of the entire game. Probably more if you actually take a look at it. Politics, fine. Everyone's doing backroom politics. Everyone's got their secret treaties. But the war part is really fucking important here. So please, donate a nuke or a missile to your local pixel hugger. And for just one nuke a day, you can teach a pixel hugger to quit that shit. The fifth type of person are the scammers. These are people that open up shoddy banks. They're the people that basically extort people for bullshit reasons and everything. And they've existed for a long, long time. Um, Going through and getting all the multis banned and going through and finding out like, oh my god, there's actually like secret underground multi-making networks to sell in-game currency for Indian, what is it, the rupee, I think. Oh, hold on, I gotta look it up. It's been a while since I've done one of these episodes, so okay, yeah, Indian rupee. Um, and that's like, that whole underground network was crazy to experience. And unfortunately, they're going to keep existing because Alex will refuse to increase moderation. He'll refuse to look at ways to set up more advanced blocking mechanisms for checking multis and everything. Um, but, that's the way it is. What I'm really wanting to talk about now that we got through all that shit is the new type of player that will destroy the game. And those are the abusers. Now, the abusers come in many shapes and sizes. But one of the things that the abusers do is they actively go out of their way. And I mean, this is not like this isn't a meme, or this isn't like, oh, I'm doing this for fun. This is out of pure malice, actively going out of their way to harass, intimidate, or to blackmail other players in the game for perks and bonuses, such as getting actual cash, which realistically, Alex should have something in place where messages are flagged if certain words are in them. I feel like that would wrap up a lot of this issue right off the bat, and not and flagged, not saying anything in regards to like, oh, this message can't be sent or anything like that, because the message has to get out regardless. We're not trying to violate free speech or anything like that. But if you were sending a message to another player saying, kill yourself, or if you don't do A, B, C, and D, I will kill you, that shit needs to be addressed right off the bat. Because there are players that are under 13. There are players that are naive, and there are players that look at that and say, oh, fuck, I have to do something about this. The players that say, I know where you live, I know this, I know that, and they start doing stalkerish things on Discord. These are people that are predators. And that has no place in any game whatsoever. I don't care if it's politics and war. I don't care if it's World of Warcraft. I don't care if it's, fucking light chess. There is no reason for behavior like that to exist in any community whatsoever. But it does. And the thing that's been happening a lot recently, and a lot of the community has just been like, Yeah, we don't really give a shit about this because micro and nano news isn't important. There have been a lot of alliances that have basically been taken over by other players, and it's all been through extortion. It's all been through threats. It's all been through. I understand if you. So the practice of buying and selling alliances has been around for over 5 years. I understand that that's a part of the game, but this is not buying or selling an alliance. This is a single abuser or even a group of abusers taking a look at a small nano alliance, usually between 4 and 8 players, and basically like saying, okay, if you don't give me leadership, or if you don't do A, B, C, and D for me, I will not a we're gonna raid you, because that's the shit that like Crimson Dawn does in Order of the Fallen Angels. That's an asshole thing to do, but that's not something that I'm gonna gripe about, because you can be an asshole without, you know, that's just bad FA. But if you make those demands backed by a threat of I will come to your house and kill you, that's when shit has 100% crossed the line. There's a couple examples recently that I've found and that people have actually come to me about. I can't disclose them because right now my nation is highly under wraps. Um, but there's this whole thing of, hey, something needs to be done in the game about not base level harassment, because base level harassment can just be like, okay, I'm going to blockade you and then I'm going to sit on you for the remainder of the war. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to let you trade or anything like that. It's a dick move, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when it goes beyond the scope of the game, that it needs to be addressed. So when real life threats come into play, when people start blackmailing other people, it needs to be addressed. This isn't anything new. Um, when I gotta remember the name of it. One of our very first allies back in the day when I started out, I don't think it was Mesopotamian Empire. It definitely was an M though. Um, but there were some players in it like Sweet Storm, um, Gouda was in it, and basically what happened is somebody went to their leader and said, "Hey, if you don't give us A, B, C, and D, we're going to." I don't even think it was go to their house. I think it was, we know that your mom works in ABC school. We're going to go and we're going to plant a bomb in there. And after that, he straight up deleted his nation, deleted his Discord, and just dropped off the face of the earth. And I don't think he's come back. I don't think he ever will come back, and that's probably for good. Um, it's just it's a game, and it's not even a game that you can make money on. Like, yes, if you're doing the illegal stuff, you can. I say the illegal stuff. If you're doing stuff against TOS, you can make money off of the game. I mean, Guinea Pig Whaling Company was doing that for a long time with the manhwa or whatever. On top of that, though, you have people that are usually doing multi rings, accumulating resources. Um, and then I've actually seen a site recently that advertises the selling of City 10 accounts. And I'm like, what? Yes, they're for like $1 or something like that. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But you can make money from this game. And I'm sure there's some poor kid in Venezuela who like got banned in RuneScape for gold farming and now he's got to find an alternative way to feed his family. And I feel for them and there's got to be other ways to do that. I truly believe that the money sink in politics and war is broken. Uh, Wars are great, but for the pixel huggers, you have issues. And recently, what I saw was a forum post about taking resources that are in the bank and actually having them degrade over time, which is an awesome idea. That is a positive money sink for the people that have like 30 bill accounts to just be like, okay, that's going to degrade over time. You are you're going to outpace it in terms of growth, but there's still going to be resources that are coming out of it. I think that's positive and I think it should be added, but who am I to say that at this point? The real issue, well, I say the real issue. There are several issues with the game. There's always going to be issues with the game because of either Alex's laziness or the moderation's ineptitude. Always going to be the case. The issue that I'm focusing on in this episode, though, is there is no actions being taken. There's no investigations being done. There's no nothing as to actual abuse that the new abuser player group is doing in order to steal alliances, steal banks, and do all of this stuff. Now, I know a lot of the community out there is just going to be like, oh, but can't you just block them? Yeah, you can. You can block that one account. But you have to remember, these are people that actively use multi rings. These are people that actively abuse and have, you know, hold on, excuse me. Oh, apologies. I remember when I played and I paid off, I think it was like Mindsome MC. It was, who else was is it? Maybe not Church, or maybe it was Church. But there was a couple of people that had taken over an alliance called NATO, and they basically were just like, yeah, they were goofing around in it and stuff, and I'm sure they would have given it back eventually. The issue that I had with that entire situation is the fact that, all right, that's cool. Um, uh, okay. Shit's falling. The issue that I had with it though was just the fact that they were teasing him about it, and I'm just like, all right, we'll wrap it up. We'll just be done with it. Like if they held on to it, did a meme or two, I would have been fine, and I would just been like, yeah, just they'll give it back. Um, but once they basically abused their positions, took over the alliance, everyone shit on that person because he was naive. And it's like if you want to generate a positive community, don't shit on the people that don't know what they're doing. You should be like, hey, by the way, do A, B, C, and D. Now, NATO is never going to become a Rose. They're never going to become a TKR. They're never going to become a Cataclysm or a Fighting Pacifist or anything like that. But they could have been top 50. They had like 26 people or something like that. And the instead of looking at it and being like, hey, there's potential here, let's help you nurture that, everyone just wanted to shit on it. And I was going somewhere with this, and I've lost my train of thought, unfortunately. Um, shit. It's been a while, guys. I apologize. Um, did that with NATO. Oh, yeah, okay. And that was an entire thing. Okay, we're talking about blocking people and stuff. After I did that and I purchased um, back the alliance to, I think it was like a man of, I think the ironic name of the owner was a man of intelligence. But I started getting spammed like maybe 75 different accounts. Um, there's probably a Discord bot or a Discord script that somebody had up to just generate accounts, flood my DMs, and they were just all screaming, "All hail the king of micros." I get it. It's a meme, it's a joke, it's whatever. But Jesus, that was so disruptive. I maybe got maybe 12 maybe 12,000 messages from those accounts, and it was just constant spam all the time. I actually remember I was at the movie theater with my dad. I don't remember what movie we were watching, um, but my phone was going off so much from all of the notifications that I was like, whatever. Try turning it off, would not work. My phone was freezing up, and my phone had like 60% charge left. The string of messages drained my phone's battery because all of the vibrations that it was giving off. A woman could have used that phone and she would have been happy in about 3.5 minutes. That's how much it was vibrating. Oh, you can't get rid of that. You can't just block that, and you can't just say, all right, we're going to move on. It doesn't work that way. And that's unfortunately what a lot of people in the community just assume, because when they get shit from somebody, it's one account. You can block it, you can move on, and everything's fine. But when you irritate somebody, or when you do something that causes people to have issues with you, and this isn't like making bad FA mistakes or anything like that, this is hitting one of those underground networks, they will find, and looking back at it now, I think it's really clever. I think it's very, their powers could have been used for good if they weren't so evil, kind of thing. But they found ways to keep updating and keep sending me stuff through Discord and Politics and War, and you can't get rid of that. Um, I remembered one week I had so many gay porn images and gifs sent to me in my P&W inbox. I think I did one report on the forums as basically like, hey, this guy's sending me gay porn. And then after that, I just had to be like, okay, I'm going straight to moderation and being like, I don't know what the fuck to do about this. The community itself needs to step up, and this is the hill I'll die on. The community of politics and war needs to step up if it plans on actually doing something in a positive light with the game. And why do I say that? There's a couple of things when you look at the game, you can say, "Oh, this really isn't this isn't a healthy lifestyle for the game." And what you can do is if you go, I think it's like Underworld or something, there's going to be a data map that shows a graph for everything. And from there, you'll be able to see like nations active and stuff like that. If you look at it, there are more nations that are active today than there were a few years ago. 100%, that makes sense and everything. What you're not looking at, though, is you're not looking at the actual growth of the game and seeing where that growth ends up. Once you're looking at the growth of the game and seeing where that ends up, you're like, oh, something is not right that wants to facilitate growth within the community. And what I mean by that is if you look, I think the best one to look at is nations active in the last week, or maybe it's like nations active in the last month. You'll see a huge spike with Drew Durnell, which was 2020. I think it was like June or July, maybe May. Um, Huge spike, and then you'll see like the entire population just dies out to nothing. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's all day players and stuff. And you're like, okay, kind of makes sense. Then you look at another huge spike and you're like, oh, shit, what happened to all those players? And then you look at another huge spike and you're like, oh, shit, what happened to all those players? And the issue is, all of those players are either looking at the game and saying, like, okay, this isn't adding up, or they're making their own nano alliances and they're just getting shit on constantly. That is the problem. If you want to have a not even just a thriving community, if you don't want the community to be so stale, you're going to have to put in the work to actually invite the new players into doing stuff. And I don't mean, oh, they didn't join our alliance based off of the automated message that we sent to them, so we don't care about them. I'm saying even look at the nano and micro alliances. You don't have to look at the one mans. You don't have to look at alliances with 3 members. Look at alliances that start having 6 or more members, especially those alliances that are starting to grow very quickly and be like, this puts us in a very interesting position. We as an alliance can look at that and say, okay, let's see where this goes and nurture it. Or we can say, fuck them, use them as war training. Either one works so long as you go in with the understanding of the core is to teach them a lesson about the game's mechanics. Order of the Fallen Angels has just been going after alliances and saying, okay, you're going to merge into us, or we're going to permanently roll you out of the game. How the fuck is that still allowed? When Alex did this whole new like rules update thing and he's like, okay, here's how all the strikes work. How are you going to allow that shit to continue? That is fighting a war with somebody who says, no, we're not going to merge, at that point, you are fighting a war where the sole purpose is to remove them from the game. Remove them from the game. That is so ungodly, unacceptable, especially after all of the shit that other communities have gone through. It does not make sense, and in my mind's eye, that rule is what the abusers are taking advantage of. They understand that Alex does not give a shit about that. They understand that the moderation team doesn't give a shit about that. And so they can go to these nano and micro alliances and be like, if you don't give me A, B, C, and D, if you don't give me your alliance, if you don't give me your bank, I'm coming to your house and fucking killing you. They know that the moderation team is so fucking petty and so lax that they're willing to go after fucking missile slots in wars for a global, which has been around for years since 2016. That's been going on, and Alex is saying, "Oh yeah, this is war slot filling." No, it's not. It's not. You're looking at that, you're taking a moderation decision, you're closing up wars, you're pissing off the entire community instead of tackling the real issues of, hey, you have fucking multis that are abusing the trade system and are funneling millions of dollars into single nations to either be resold or built up. I sent a lot of those nations to Chad, who, thank God, Chad, you're working in at least staff to some extent so that you can fucking look at that shit. You have people that are just saying, oh, okay, if they're going to be worrying about slot filling, and Alex, don't. Alex, I'm speaking directly to you when I say the issues with the game, less than 1% of it is war slot filling. The main, I would say 60% of the game's issue right now is there's no integrity in the rules actually being set and actually being followed when it comes to multi-rings, when it comes to verbal abuse and harassment, when it comes to death threats. You know, I wasn't just reporting 100 different accounts to get them banned because I felt like it. Okay? I didn't wake up at 3 a.m. and say, oh boy, 3 a.m., time to go on to Politics and War and fucking report some accounts. I reported those accounts because I saw that they were abusing other people. That's how they come to me. I can run my multi-reporting system and my multi-finder, and I can scan alliances and stuff, which I know a few people have asked me to do in the past. That's fine. The easiest way to find that somebody is using a multi is when multiple nations start harassing somebody. It's when multiple nations start doing the same exact thing of, if you don't merge into us, you are going to die. If you don't do ABC, we're going to kill you. If you don't do XYZ, we're going to bomb your house. That is so easy to look back and say, oh, guess what? They logged in 2 minutes apart from each other because one guy was switching to another account to send out the same shit. It is a travesty. It is a nightmare that the game is going in this direction and has been going in this direction for over a year now. You know, I know that there's folks in Aurora that when I say the name Badorites, they clench their buttholes because they know how abusive and how obnoxious shit like that is. You know, I know when I say to some micros UFO, they clench their butt cheeks because they know how abusive UFO and Space Invaders was. But nothing happens. Reports are being made. There's mountains of evidence being piled on Alex's desk, and he is just sweeping it. I mean, taking his tiny hands and sweeping it into the trash. So that's my gripe about that. I don't know if I'm going to be making more of these. I doubt I will, but it's just something that I have been recently informed of and still disgusted that Alex refuses to do shit about it. So if you do find the abusers in the game, just roll them out. Just get rid of them. If Alex and the moderation team refuse to do it, you guys need to do it yourselves and just say, all right, this guy, get them the fuck out of here. I have been Alan. This has been the Micro Minute, even though I don't own the Micro Minute anymore. I don't know who it's owned by, but fuck them. I own the YouTube channel, so it's all good. Um, and I hope that you all have a wonderful day and never have to deal with these assholes. Take care, guys.